is an anatomy bite about your pelvis. So commonly we think we have a pelvis, we do. However, our pelvis develops from the growth of our peripheral body, and our spine is core and begins to develop before our periphery. Spine is self. Spine is self at the personal and also houses the first movings of universality into form that begin in our embryology. So, what do we have in the pelvis? We have joints. We have at the front the pubic disc, which joints on either side with one of the pelvic bones. We have at the back its partner joints, the sacroiliacs. The pubic joints, too, want to be the more flexible, and the shadow joints of the sacroiliacs want to be the more stable. Each of your sacroiliac joints covers almost 3 square inches of flat-ish and gnarly space. Anywhere we have a disc in the body, we have the opportunity for very differentiated kind of movement. In other words, the disc will allow not just sliding, not just scooping around or whatever, but it will ripple in any direction. These joints stable, these joints relatively mobile. They're very strong, they're not hugely mobile, but the fact that they are right at the front and center of your pelvis makes their movement critical. All right, so we have these, and we have the hip joints, of course, where your big knobs of femurs connect into each pelvic half. Now, energetically, in terms of our embodiment of consciousness, which makes it yoga, energetically, we want to differentiate core from periphery in order to understand and be able to embody and feel who we are. So at our core, we have spine. I am at my core. I, the personal, and I, the connectivity with the universal. So this is the way we come in, right? And then I grow things. I have things. I grow my limbs. I grow my pelvic bones connected with the whole leg limb. And all the while, I am still contained as self, small s self and large s self, contained at center. All right, so what I'm speaking to here is to begin to embody our pelvis as a compilation of periphery, these bones on the sides, our pelvic bones, and core at the center, and to understand and begin to move in an embodied sense that integrates the whole of the limb, in this case, pelvic bone and legs through the feet, the whole of the limb, and the core. So we need proper articulations at each of the joints, and we need to differentiate pelvis from spine. We want to unify pelvic bones with leg bones in our movements, not just for the energetics of it, but extremely importantly for the health of our bones. You know, the epidemic of hip replacements, and specifically and primarily, I think it's hip replacements, but also knee replacements, the same kind of hinging movement that we often will make in the pelvis when we try to stabilize the two pelvic bones together. That's a stabilization, we call it. And yet, what it ends up being is it creates shearing forces in our hip joint. So, watching, I think you can see this even in the fairly long shot here. So, if I shear the force of my leg at the hip here, what you can see is that that bone is having to rotate in a stable socket, right? We think of that and we think that's fine, that's good, whatever. What if rather than creating the lever here of leg in pelvis, what if we were to scoop the pelvis around with the leg? Since we can move one half, we don't have to move them both. We're not scooping the both pelvic bones. But if we lift the leg like this, the scoop of the pelvic half, to contain its bone, we get a lighter, unified movement which doesn't shear across the joint. So again, shearing. We're taught to do it all the time. We don't call it shearing, we call it stabilize the hip bone and move the leg. We'll even say bring the leg up and then roll it out. Now we're effectively grinding in the joint quite often, maybe not always, but quite often. You come up and then you turn, right? That creates a movement of one bone in the other bone, which is not moving. Yes? All right, so here, if I take the other side to show you again, it's a shearing across. That's a shearing across. Taking the leg up, shearing across, scooping to contain. You can you can see how much lighter the movement in my leg becomes. And it's integrated all the way up through the side bodies. So it's a psoas, right? It's a psoas in terms of muscle, and in terms of bone, we have this integration that flows all the way through the unification, pelvic half, pelvic bone, center me. I can do things, but I am not hard letting the do. I can do things.